Tonight on Inside Story...
Emergency department, Professor Fulder. I love being a doctor.
What made those cuts?
If you're in real strife...
You need an operation, OK, mate?
He's a good man to have at your side.
Good morning.
He's passionate and enthusiastic.
See you when you get here.
Very dedicated to his patients.
I was a goner, absolute goner.
He was dying in front of our eyes.
He took on Australia's roughest hospital and then tamed the chaos of King's Cross.
It was anarchy.
Hello, I'm Layla McKinnon. Welcome to Inside Story. He's tough, he's a fighter. For more than 30 years, he's been the undisputed ruler of the emergency department at Sydney's St Vincent's Hospital. When there's a major disaster, Professor Gordian Fulder's the first one they call. Medicine is his life. But as you'll discover, there's so much more to this man behind the surgical mask.
As a kid, I decided I'd like to be a doctor. I knew that I wanted to do medicine. If I couldn't be a doctor, I was going to be very, very happy being a long-distance truck driver, listening, possibly singing country and western music. So, there you go. St Vincent's Emergency has always had the reputation for sex, drugs and rock and roll.
St Vincent's standing by for the par 447.
Every day is just so different. You get the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows, and there's a lot of hard work in between.
Gordian is incredibly enthusiastic.
On its side.
X-ray? Okay.
Do we know how old he is, or...?
He puts his heart and soul into it.
Are there any obvious long bone fractures?
You need an operation, OK, mate?
No day, no night, no shift is the same.
See you when you get here.
People thinking about having a cup of coffee, and next minute it could be hell on wheels with a jet engine behind it.
We need to go in now, guys.
No, I understand.
Okay, fantastic.
Good morning. I'm the longest-serving ED director in Australia in a major hospital. Yeah. Good morning. I don't believe you should lead from the back. Hi there. I think you should lead from the front.
This morning on the program, lightning expert Gordian Fulder.
My department here looks like a war zone.
Oh, look, he loves the cameras.
Sense of humour is one of the highest functions of our human brain.
If we see a film crew coming into the department, you know, even if Gordian's at home, you know that he's going to be there in 10 minutes' time.
These guys are going to be following me around, so beware.
But that's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's good for the face of medicine. It's good so that people can understand what happens in hospital.
It's so lovely having the camera crew here. I'm so fond of them. Coming from a medical family, my dad being a surgeon, mum doing pathology, the choice for me to do medicine seemed pretty obvious.
Gordian started with the intention of being a country GP. He actually went to Cooma and started working there. But his dad died and his mum needed support, and so Gordian came back to Sutherland Hospital, where they wanted an emergency director, but they also wanted a surgeon.
And also you've taken some bark off your hand a little bit. You're right-handed?
Yeah, I am. I found what I really, really liked. And I was very lucky to be on the ground floor of it to create emergency medicine, emergency nursing as a specialty.
Gordian's been there all the time. One of the founding fathers.
When I got there, it was chaotic. It was also possibly one of the most difficult years of my life because it was anarchy. There had been no leadership. It also had no structure how to run an emergency department. So, it was tough. But I have the support of administration, all that sort of thing, all the way along, support of the nuns, because they see this is a really, really important part of the hospital.
So which order is this lovely lady?
Sister of Mercy. Sister of Mercy.
Oh, lovely. We work together, yeah.
So very quickly it sped up and it was just an absolute delight.
They're still coming behind us. Yes, when I first met Gordian, it was actually at St Vincent's on the wards.
Something about a woman's love, you know.
I was a very young medical student, and I saw him walking towards us, and the first thing I really noticed was his smile, which is really kind, and his sparkly blue eyes. And actually, they've never changed.
Your plane goes at 2? I'm very fortunate to have met my wife.
All over with grass. That's wonderful.
She's a fully, very highly trained administrator. She's got a law degree and all sorts of stuff. If I'm seen to be successful, it's because I sleep with the enemy.
You are a buffet.
Through Leslie, I've learned to play chess, and that's what it is, right? You got to give and take, you got to learn to lose, you got to do all that, and that really is hard for doctors. They're not good at losing when they say, this is my patient, I need this now. Emergency department, Professor Fulden. Compression.
168. Yeah, that's what we need. 168 she is. She's very sick. Yeah, well, it's just that nothing much seems to be happening.
If you think about it, an emergency department is actually a disaster zone.
Don't move your head, darling.
You've got lots of patients injured.
It's going to be a shot.
And to manage it, you have to have triage, you have an organisation. So basically that's the skill mix that you take with you to wherever you go.
Gordian is one of the foremost experts in emergency in Australia and has been for a very long time. He was involved personally in the Kempsey bus smash and the Thredbo disaster.
My first impression was that it's another Cyclone Tracy, just a complete disaster.
To go to a scene like this, it's really devastating for the people who are retrieving the body parts, all that sort of thing. Seeing the sadness among the relatives, friends. There's obviously something very eerie about it because there's tragedy that happened. There's still dead people there. I mean, there were concerns about contamination, public health. It just is so big, but in the end, it was just so sad.
I think all the emergency personnel get a real adrenaline rush, you could say.
A miracle has occurred and signs of life were detected. Some muffled sounds from under the slab.
They're focusing totally on saving people and fixing things.
Yeah, there's the chair going up. They've suddenly realised around here, they know that it's out.
It was amazingly precarious. The risks that people even took to do something were massive.
By Friday morning, some rescuers were admitting there seemed little hope. It was 30 hours since the mountain had shrugged its shoulder.
When Gordian came home from Thredbo, he was still thinking about what had happened and what he'd seen, because some of the things he saw were pretty awful. He sees some awful things every day, and some of the patients really stick with him. Some of the patients he's seen will stay with him till he dies.
We see people die in front of our eyes, and that is tough. That is very, very tough.
Sydney's King's Cross is a human zoo. The freaks, the drunken brawlers, the heroin ODs, the ice epidemic. Gordian Fulder's seen it all and is one of the few with enough clout to actually do something about it.
There's always been, for some reason, crime, alcohol, strip joints, there's drugs galore. Even in the 30s, 1930s, there were razor gangs, there were always brothels. The nuns chose a great place to put an emergency department with a big hospital, right in the middle of it.
You can come here and score any time, but the drugs that people now want are the uppers, which brings to us violent patients, people who are agitated, and especially with that very bad crystal meth ice, psychotic patients.
Crystal meth ice is so horrible because it's refined, it's insanely powerful. It blows your mind. Whether you smoke it, do whatever with it, you don't have to inject it.
The rise in drug taking and overdosing and violence has had a big impact on Gordian and the whole department and people who are working in it. I don't think Gordian's frightened to go to work, but some people I think are. And they have to be careful all the time. The security in the department has risen massively in order to protect the patients and the staff.
Thank you for looking after us.
We are excellent.
It's very stressful. It really is a case of long-term interaction with violence and aggression.
The circumstances that have particularly upset us recently are those unnecessary situations, the one-punch situations where alcohol is involved, or deaths because of drug use.
It came without warning. Thomas Kelly was walking with friends through King's Cross when he was king-hit by a stranger.
Unnecessary, all preventable, and they cause terrible heartbreak to families.
His first New Year's Eve out alone with friends, cut short at 9 o'clock. Police say Daniel was king-hit.
This is such a sad spot. All the staff in intensive care, anybody who had anything to do with these two young people who were just lost their life because of alcohol-fueled violence, a moment of just unthinkable occurrence. And it is so sad, it's so unnecessary. This is really, really, it's miserable.
There was a huge amount of publicity and pressure that something had to be done. It was at this time when Gordian came to the fore.
The assaults, the violence, the brain damage we see after 3 o'clock is so much more than, let's say, at 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
You could see the young men and women who were coming in there on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, with horrific injuries. He would see this and he knew that it could easily be stopped by reducing the level of intoxication in the King's Cross and the greater CBD area. King's Cross, pre-lockouts, was like a zoo. Post-lockouts now, we don't have that 10,000 young men and women wandering up and down the streets who couldn't get into the nightclubs. These young people who are leaving the clubs in the suburbs at 1 o'clock realise they can't get in to the nightclubs in King's Cross. So we're not getting those highly intoxicated young people coming into conflict.
Good, nearly, mate. How's things?
Not bad, George.
King's Cross has never been safer, and it is a result of Gordian and others working tirelessly to make these changes. He didn't want to see mums and dads hovering over the hospital beds of young men who some never survive.
Moderation, everything good in moderation. I'm with you.
He truly wanted this to change. He brought about change, and the King's Cross Police thank him.
Still to come on Inside Story.
The thing that really gets you is the volcano of sadness, the scream of a mother when she finally realises that her most loved child has died. If anybody's listening, it tears you apart.
Professor Gordian Fulda has saved many, many lives. Naturally, he's lost some too. They're the ones who stay with him year after year. Some will haunt him forever.
I love nature. If I had to come back in another life, I'd probably be a Labrador, because anything to do with water, right? I'm there. There's these waves coming, and if you were lucky enough to catch one, it'll carry you. There's a thrill of suddenly nature's forces are carrying you. That's a real buzz.
It's essential for me to be able to come down here in the morning and a bulletproof suit for the whole rest of the day.
It's very serious domestic violence. Her nose is broken and her eye is swollen up like a grapefruit.
If you think about it, an emergency department, nobody gets up in the morning and says, oh, I'll go to an emergency, right? something has happened to that person. They're often quite frightened.
Police know photos been taken, any of that stuff? I mean, this is nasty.
We have never seen the patient before. And then we've got to quickly try and sort out what it's all about.
So Chloe will be all over that, that'd be great.
The most important things to me is that we approach each person, each human being, each patient, as if it was a loved one.
So we've got a 19-year-old boy in cubicle 6 who's swallowed 3 water balloons with 4 ecstasy tablets in each balloon. He's currently well. There's no sign that any of the tablets have leaked out of the balloons. We're just trying to help him pass the tablets through at the moment. Yeah.
One of the most common questions I think asked of emergency doctors, what's your worst case? What's your worst experience? And I think for most of us it can be summed up is when a patient comes in, and that patient, for some reason, you sort of relate to. She looks like your daughter or whatever, or, you know, there's a mental connection to that person just visually.
Beautiful and successful, Georgina Barter's future was bright, but yesterday a seizure caused by illegal drugs taken at Sydney's Harbour Life Music Festival cut her life tragically short.
You get a young girl who's in trouble with drugs. Well, she's not a drugs user, abuser. She's somebody's daughter. It's that simple, right? And if the person who you have spoken to, formed a human relationship with, then dies in front of your eyes, that is tough. That is very, very tough. The thing that really gets you is the grief reaction, the volcano of sadness, like the scream of a mother when she finally realises that her most loved child has died. That stays imprinted because it's just so primal. It really is. You can't describe it, but it tears. Anybody who's listening, it tears you apart.
When he comes home, I've learnt, we've all learnt, we just leave him alone. Sometimes he'll go out and sit on the veranda outside and watch the ocean. And then when he becomes a human being again, he's processed it all, he'll come and talk to us.
What's made me survive so long? Obviously, it's like everything. If you haven't got somebody close to you, a partner or your family or something, I don't know how you do it. There's always somebody there to help you through it. And the love that you can give to your family, because I mean, giving is the big bit, right? And then getting love back beats any drug you'll ever buy.
Still to come on Inside Story.
I had a ruptured aortic aneurysm.
He was dying in front of our eyes.
One of my children, he's training in emergency medicine. If he turns out to be half the doctor that Gordian is, that would be outstanding.
Gordian Fulder is many things to many people. One thing he's not is boring. There's something about that lived-in, crumpled face that gives patients confidence. Something about the man that inspires love.
I was on my way to work and most enormous pain hit the back of my body. Something was terribly wrong. In the ambulance, I remember I'd asked them to take me to St Vincent's Hospital. I wanted to go there because Gordian was there. Gordian is a man who my family knew.
The ambulance was rushing in and the ambulance officer said to me, "This patient asked for you." I went straight to the resuscitation cubicle and then I realised who it was. And Richard was white as a sheet. He didn't have a pulse. Something is very, very badly wrong.
I had a ruptured aortic aneurysm.
He was dying in front of our eyes, literally, right? And quickly got an ECG done. There was no signs of a heart attack on that. And you can't pick by physical examination or anything, whether it's a big clot in the lung.
My family assembled at the hospital and they were met by Gordian, who told them really that everything had been done to keep me alive, but really they ought to go and say goodbye.
And then put my hand on the tummy and you could feel that the main vessel, the aorta, had burst. And we knew immediately that either he was dead already because your whole blood valve goes into your tummy, or it was just a little bit left of blood getting up to the brain. That's about it. We call it code crimson because you really have got a slim chance of saving that person's life.
Apparently then there was the most enormous commotion for 30 seconds, but it was like a volcano had erupted with the activity as I was wheeled out and taken to the operating theatre. I was wheeled in with seconds to spare. It wasn't minutes, it was seconds. Throughout my time in ICU, Gordian used to come and frequently check on how I was doing.
It was really rewarding because he just was such a fighter. A couple of times in ICU, his back was up against the wall. And going, this is not good. But he came through it, so it was just brilliant.
It was 9 years ago. I'll never forget it. My family will never forget it. One of my children has done medicine and he's training in emergency medicine. If he turns out to be half the doctor that Gordian is, that would be outstanding.
What made those cuts? What do you think?
Well, I think I had the window half open.
I love being a doctor. I think it's an incredible privilege. I love interacting with the patients and the staff. Even if people are unhappy, it is very, very rewarding.
1, 2, 3. I'm not quite sure where Gordian would be if he wasn't the director of emergency at St Vincent's. It's him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And what's the gentleman who's vomiting we hear in the background?
He's had way too much fun tonight.
I think he'll be there for a long, long time. He just loves it.
This is a standard Saturday night, Sunday night.
Yes, that's right.
Running an ED is absolute chaos. Sailing, on the other hand, it's a pleasure to be with these friends. They know what they're doing, and there's no way this boat will get into trouble.
He's a very clever man. He's very humble. He deals remarkably well with people, and he represents us really very well. And he's been a great friend to me over the years. I'm privileged to have known him and to be his friend.
I have no freaking idea what people think of me. I think nobody does. Am I seen as eccentric? Yes. Does it seem as different? Yes. Some people really can't handle me? Yes. All I can say, this sounds a little bit arrogant, but when I look at myself in the mirror in the morning to shave, I go, okay, I can deal with this.